All right. Hello, everybody. This is the Big Comedy Podcast, and I'm Jim McHugh, and this is Carolyn Plummer, and we got a really special guest we're going to bring on in a couple minutes. We're very excited to have him on, and I sent him a link about 28 seconds ago. So it's always a scramble with us, isn't it? It's like,
Pretty much.
how was your week in comedy?
It was good. I had good shows. I'm trying to remember where I was.
That's how you know it's good.
Yeah.
I went back to my home. They say you never can go back. I went back to my hometown, West Hartford, Connecticut, and we did a couple shows at the Elbow Room, and it was a lot of fun and worked with some good people. And it's a fun little space. It's like down in the basement where comedy grows,
Yep.
So that was kind of fun.
I had fundraisers. That's what I did. I was up in Danvers for one. It was really
Okay.
good. And then Saturday I was at Lindsay's. Have you ever worked at Lindsay's?
No.
It's in Dracut. It's sort of in between Dracut, Lawrence, and Methuen along the river.
Okay.
It's like this weird banquet restaurant place that has like rooms everywhere. And that was a fundraiser as well, and it was good.
Awesome.
Oh, and Thursday I was at the Magic Room.
Sounds magic.
It was something. It was something. They had a mechanical clown that started moving when I was on stage.
Well, isn't that always the way, though?
Yeah, I thought they turned the clown off, so
I
it
think that
scared
kind of
me.
defines your career. But
The eyes lit up and it went like this. Like, are you kidding me right now? Exactly. That's how it moved.
Listen, let's jump right in and talk to Kieth Guard because he's got a lot to talk about, and we got a lot of questions. He was co-managing Aerosmith a while ago. He actually is a manager, and he produces all kinds of stuff. And we don't know. I want to dig into it with this guy. What do you think?
Absolutely.
All right. Hello, Kieth Guard. How are you, sir?
Hey, hello, Jim. Hello, Carolyn.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry about the late link, man. I just saw your thing and I was like, oh yeah, let's invite the guest. How about that? This is Carolyn. She's a very funny comedian. Do you have to say comedian anymore? You can just say comedian, right?
I like comedian. I don't like comedian.
Comedian it is. and I met Kieth, I think, first with Right Turn. Is that inaccurate?
No, that's right. Yeah.
Right Turn. For those who don't know, they help. It started with the drummer from the Del Fuegos, and he is a great guy. Woody Geisman. I hope I said that right.
Yeah.
He was a drummer for the Del Fuegos, and he connected with all these amazing, talented musicians and musical people. And Carolyn hates musicians, so she had to leave the room.
No, my light is flickering and it's making noise.
Musicians? She went, musicians?
Get out of here.
Having an acid flashback. It was flickering and it was driving me nuts.
Apparently she had a bad relationship with a musician, which happened. Anyway, Kieth was helping us with the Boston Comedy Festival. We were doing some things, and he is involved in so many things. I bet he doesn't even know how many things he's involved in. But can you give me a little more background about your management company and some of the things you're producing? And then, of course, I want to hear more about Aerosmith, because who doesn't?
Well, and we're doing a number of things that are really, really fun. A couple of new projects. She's producing a podcast called Wiki Listen. Just brand new, and it's people reading Wikipedia pages.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh yeah, it's really funny, and it's with maybe you know Victor Varnado.
I don't know Victor.
Victor, comedian, actor, writer, film guy, producer, funny, smart guy, and Will Brierly is my partner. Who you know?
Oh yeah, I know Will very well. He does a lot for us at the Boston Comedy Festival.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Will's.
Yeah, me too.
He's a mad scientist, that guy, you know.
Man, he's amazing. I love him. So that, and just launched this really fun, just to have fun thing called High Score Wins Money. And High Score Wins Money is, we really set it up to be something that can support charitable cause, but it's free to play. It's online gaming, but no, literally, there's no gambling. It's free. You come, you play, and if you win, if you have the high score at the end of the day, we give you money. And so,
Okay, I'm in.
so it's come and play. The first game we just launched on Sunday, and Will Brierly created the first game. It's crazy fun. So those are some of the just the fun things that I'm doing. But the for the most part these days, the things that I'm involved with great training from one of the great American rock and roll bands of all time, and how crazy that organization is and was, and certainly I contributed to some of the crazy. So is doing a lot of work around. Really, what the management company is now it's a business management and consulting firm working with leaders, entertainers, people who are influential around things that have to do with trauma and how that distorts and disturbs and kind of fucks your life up, right? Am I allowed to say
Right.
that? And how, as an influencer or a business leader, how that affects the organization that you run and you influence. And I'm I just finished consulting for a film that featured Daryl Hammond and his life and some of it's called Cracked Up, the Daryl Hammond story. And it's about childhood trauma, his trauma, but it's also about repair and recovery. It's very, very powerful, very meaningful stuff. And I'm working on a new one now about, I don't think I can talk about who it is quite yet, but with this brilliant documentary director, his name is Michelle Esrick. And it's serious. It's the serious side of life, and doing a lot in. I have the good fortune to be able to mentor and guest lecture and advise NYU entrepreneurship students, entertainment entrepreneurship, and developing a course with a professor from Berklee College of Music for music business for people entering the music industry, and it's a business platform called What Would Love Do? It's a very different way to approach how you establish relationships and build businesses.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, do you think how would if Aerosmith, if they were all 20 and they were trying to come into this crazy atmosphere of web and cancellation, and how would things be different? How would you? I mean, could they even do it? How did they do it the first time? Like.
Oh well, look, it's. I love the business discussions around and the real, like, the heavy duty research that goes into how do you make a hit, how do you make a star, how do you make a band big, and the truth of the matter is I once asked at the time the most successful A&R executive in the music industry. His name was John Kolodner, and it was early in my run with Aerosmith, and I was in a cab. John's in the back seat with other people, and I'm in the front seat. I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and I see him, and I say, "How do you know? How do you know a hit? And how do you know who's going to be a star? How do you know who to sign?" And he said, it was really great. It was like silence for about 30 seconds, and he said, "You never fucking know."
Ah.
And of course, obviously, yeah, you it's not just a guess, you develop some insight, some skill, but there's a lot of luck involved. But with the Aerosmith guys, when I started to work with them, I didn't really even know much about the band. A friend who wanted some support with some of the skills that I had asked me to help him because he didn't expect to be managing the Tim Collins. He didn't expect to be managing the whole band. He thought he'd just be managing Joe Perry. And and he ended up managing the band. And he called me and he said, "You know, you're not going to believe this. I'm managing the whole band. You got to help me." And I said, "I'll help you. Hang up the phone with me. Call them and fire them because they're a bunch of drug addicted has-beens. They're just going to suck you dry. You're going to end up sleeping on my couch." So he said, "No, that's not the help I want." And and finally, you know, and I did get involved, and it was actually a really low time in my life. And truth be told, I mean, am I allowed to be serious and tell like a
Of course.
dark truth here?
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty invested in my own drug behavior at the time,
Right.
and in many respects, Tim and the band saved my life. You know, I did do, saying this modestly, I did a good job when I worked with them. You know, we had spectacular success, um, but they having the opportunity to see how they did what they did when I saw how they recorded, how they worked, how they collaborated creatively. They tore the shit out of each other. And in the same minute that it was like, fuck you, I hope, you know, everybody in your relatives going back as far as it goes back, all rotten hell, right? To 2 minutes later, what did you just do? I love you so much, I can't believe it. And, and in many respects, the real raw, creative insanity that was, especially from Tyler, unbridled. Um, it was both fascinating, it was entertaining as could be for me, um, but it was also really inspiring. I mean,
So like the diamonds come from pressure.
yeah, oh well, yeah, there was a raw and a real there, and also what I among the things that really made me love those guys, um, they there's not among the five of them. There's not a racist bone in their bodies. I mean, and they all seem to have this really interesting awareness and reverence for their fans. I mean, it was just pure and real. And it's like as a manager, of course, you know, you want to say to your talent, you got to love your fans. Make sure they feel like, you know, respect them. If you didn't have those fans, you wouldn't have a career. And, you know, and then of course, I mean, you know, you have some success and it's like, fuck the fans. I'm busy. I want to eat. I want to do this. I want to do that. Not these guys. I mean, for, and it was almost in a way, I mean, it was really lovable. I mean, just when they would do like a food drive and say, well, we'll shake everybody's hand who brings a can of food to the New Year's Eve show. They would stay for 3-4 hours until every last person got a meet and greet. And you know, these are things. I mean, I can tell you stories about that are like all kinds of fucked up stuff, right? But there's real magic there. And one day, Brad Whitford once said, I don't remember the context, but he said, you know, when we're playing live, the five biggest fans of my band are the five guys playing on stage.
Right.
You know, and that's so what do you tell a band? How do you help somebody to really be in the service of success in any time? I mean, the methodology today is so very different than it was in the industry that like we grew up in. But the goals are the same, you know, and um, this was a working band. This was a band that was on the stage to entertain and to play and perform and loved what they did. And that's my first that's my first piece of advice is be who you are better tomorrow than you were today. And with we can always edit, but be creative with no holds barred, you know, and love what you do. You know,
Yeah.
I know it's cliche, but
And that applies if you're a musician or a comedian or a painter or
yeah. Or, you know, or a knucklehead advisor who thinks he knows how to help people with their careers.
hey, you and I were almost working on something. You had me looking at something to write for you, and you told me a story about AC/DC and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Would you mind sharing that story with us?
So here's a little bit of Steven Tyler genius, and how much incredible fun it can be to work with this guy. So AC/DC's being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They want Aerosmith to deliver them, into the hall, which is so beautiful. And then and the guys were like, "Wow, this is what a great honor." So Steven says to me, like, I got to have the best speech. I got to really, this is great, great, great. So a lot of work, getting things written, and and they're fans, and it's great, really great. So we're reading the finished speech, and he goes, "It's really good, don't you think?" So like we're done. I said, "It's missing that magic Steven Tyler line. Like you got to have that." And he's so funny, and he goes, "Well, all right, you got to help me think of it." So it's 2 days before the actual event. And I said, "What do you mean we? You're the wordsmith." He goes, "Yeah, but you're the creative guy." I said, "Steven, there are 2 people in the room here. Who's the creative guy?"
Right.
Right. So it's like, okay. So writing, throwing it out. "What do you think of this?" "No, they'll say throwing it out." A couple hours go by, nothing. So then he was so good. He goes, I said to him, "You're not going to think it. You're just not. It's not going to happen. You got to feel it." So, and I don't remember his answer, but I asked him, "What?" I mean, I can say anything here. Can I say anything?
Yeah.
So I said, "What was the first AC/DC song you listened to that made you dick hard?" Right. So he goes, I don't remember if he said, "Highway to Hell" or Back Blunt. I honestly don't remember which, and I don't want to misquote him, but it was one of them. And I said, "Well, do you have it?" He goes, "Of course I have it." So one of the, his assistant comes out with a suitcase full of CDs. So we put it on this like great system in the hotel where we are. And I said, "All right, we're going to play this so fucking loud, man, that all you can do is feel it. And it'll come to you. The line is going to come to you." And he's looking at me like, "Okay." So we blast it. And Tyler, with his big Steven Tyler lips, he looks at me. I can't hear him, but his mouth is going, "I got it. I got it." Turn the sound down. I go, "What, Steven, what?" And he goes, it makes me want to boil my girlfriend's sneakers. No, it makes me want to boil my sneakers and make soup out of my girlfriend's panties. Boom. Done. So I tell him, "Okay, in rehearsal, don't deliver that line.
Right.
Don't save it." Right. So in the actual show, I'm standing where I always was standing when the band was doing something and it's being televised or recorded. So I'm always, of course, not in the camera's eye, looking at backstage on the side of the stage at a TV monitor. You have to assume that the house is going to have great sound, right? So, but what is everybody out in TV land hearing, and what do they see? So I want to see it on a monitor through the shitty TV speaker. So I'm looking, and Steven delivers that line, and Angus Young's standing next to me. Now, I admit I was like I had never met those guys. I was a little bit like, "Holy shit, man, this is really pretty cool." I swear this is true. So he just a tear. And I go, "What? And how crazy the business is." He said to me, that is the nicest thing anybody's ever said about my music." It's so touching. So, I mean,
Put it
that's
on my gravestone.
unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, yeah. I mean, to me, I
I remember seeing Steven Tyler, and I think it was the Grammys, and they had a red carpet, and Joan Rivers was just like roasting everybody that came up on the red carpet. And up comes this limo, and out is like the bounds Aerosmith. Yeah, right. And she goes, "Who are these hippies? Who are these guys?" You can hear her saying that. And she walks up to him, she puts a mic and Steven Tyler's face, and she says, and he blurts out, "Hey, Joan, what's the difference between purple and pink? And she goes, I don't know. And he goes, your grip. And he just walked by her, and it's the only time I ever saw Joan Rivers kind of like,
Steven,
that's a commercial. It was like,
yeah, and then, yeah,
it was awesome.
yeah.
He was also on Oprah. What happened? What's it like when you like? That's always the weird thing about entertainment is you get someone like Oprah and someone like Steven Tyler, and you put them in the same room, and then you just see what happens, right?
There's a lot of respect there, a lot of love. I think there's, one of the things about, also, about, and not just Steven, but, the guys in the band in different ways, there's, you get these rock and roll band, a rock and roll band like an Aerosmith, where they're notoriously willing to take the piss out of themselves. There's almost a caricature of self, in with this creature with 5 heads called Aerosmith, right? Or other, bands, like, although I think they stand at the top of their subgenre, right, in that slice. And but the depth and character and the pursuit of kind of, and of things that have to do with service and care, like they all, I was very involved with a lot of the charitable giving over the years that was banned charitable giving, and the generosity was profound, never looking for any publicity around any of their giving at all. And one day Oprah said, sometimes you want to let the world know because, doing good can be infectious, and we want it to spread. Oprah had for a period of time, she had the, on her show, she had the Angel Network, and
Right.
and there was a question, who is your angel? And this young girl who had cancer had written a letter saying that she would listen to Aerosmith music when she was going through treatment, and it helped her to feel better. And so Oprah's producers reached out and wanted. In fact, they found out actually that Steven used to answer all his fan mail before internet stuff, and he got a lot of it. So sometimes it would take a year to actually respond. And this young girl sent, like the "I love you" kind of thank you, and Steven responded, and I'm sure I have some of the details, off a little bit in terms of timing, but it took a year, and Oprah's producers wanted to have this young woman, and Steven on the show together, and over the period of time, the time that it took, she passed away.
Oh,
Gosh.
And she wasn't well enough to travel to Chicago for the show. So they sent a crew to where she was, and they filmed her telling her story. And, Aerosmith, Steven was her angel. And so we went to do the show later, when they were going to air that. So they had the recording of her. Steven was there, and they're telling the story. And I look over, and the producer is crying. And I look her out, and the audience, everybody in the audience is crying. Steven's crying. Oprah's crying. I start crying. I look over, and and the union camera guy, who's been there for 100 years, he's crying. And I mean, it was just
it
one of
was brought to you by Kleenex.
So I tell you, it was, there are those moments. I mean, there was a time Steven, where he just, I think it was part of the Habitat for Humanity, and maybe in association with Oprah, where he literally built a house, paid for and built a house, I think in Dorchester for a mom, her mom, and their little boy. And just there are a lot of really, there are a lot of sex, drugs, rock and roll stories that almost all of them I can't tell, but
Is
there's
there any of you can tell?
a sex, drug, and rock and roll story that I can
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
How do you pick?
He wants the one that's not going to get him pushed
In
off the
trouble, yeah.
off
There must be
Aerosmith.
so many.
Well, the truth is that the truth is all that really happened before I was around, so I just have a lot of hearsay. But and so much of when you have bands that travel that are flying to shows, that most of that stuff, those stories it's the crew who are there all day long, right, and setting up, and so who I can't
Yeah.
I can tell you this
I'll say
that
this, I used to do for the military. I used to host a battle of bands. I would do these like short tours. I did a tour with Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, and it's hard being part of a group. Like as a comedian, you say I got to be at the airport at 10. You're one guy. You eat if you want to eat. You don't if you don't want to eat. No one's partner or love interest is involved in the chemistry of what's happening. You know what I mean? And so I think it's got to be uh, daunting, especially when you get sober, or maybe not. I don't know. Or you're like dealing. You have to deal with all these personalities all the time. And imagine dealing with all those personalities. It's like a marriage of 4 people minimum, maybe 10 people.
well, that's it. It's because
And the odds, yeah, and all the people that are handling and doing all these things, and you're all traveling like the circus.
it's true, and there are really some incredibly, and maybe someday somebody will actually do justice for the mates. In this particular case, the wives of the guys in the band, they are the absolute unsung heroes.
Yeah,
The they have to compromise so much, and then there are people who see this, oh fuck you, they make a lot of money, they live in luxury, and the women who have to be um, literally always not in the spotlight, but catering to the demands of the spotlight, the time, the rush, the run, the go, right? Your lives are completely not normal. And it's really the pressure is brutal. And the degree to which you are really like, please just be a useful tool, right? And so since we're talking about the band, I really want to honor the those incredible women who had to put
yeah,
up with all that shit all those years.
right.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's an amazing look. It's there's so much that's kind of not real about what life is like in those circles, and the demands are the demands are crazy. They're just, everybody wants a piece of who you are, and
Right.
there's a lot of it's that same old story. But again, coming back to really on the creative side of what these guys do and how they do it and how they've done it, just remarkable.
Have you ever managed or handled any comedians, or mostly just musicians?
I actually, the very first person I managed ever was a comedian. His name's Gary Delina.
Okay.
And I was I didn't know what I was doing, but
Sounds like everybody wanted to manage me in my life.
oh, and he was really funny, guitar, kind of a Richard Belzer kind of
Mhm.
style, and really funny, really brilliant. And I used to hang out, Jim, in New York. I grew up in New York, lived in New York, in the city, and I hung out when, way back when somebody would come out, especially for the guys who were doing parodies,
Yeah.
because I have some funny Aerosmith parody stuff to,
Okay. Yeah. Tell us about that.
so um, well, so I did. So I managed the comedian, um, and he had a great. He had a, he didn't. He still does a lot of cruise stuff and
Sure.
has a, like a sweet career,
Make
and
a
he's
living.
a killer guy. I mean, funny, killer, love of a guy, and yeah. So we used to make when we would shoot videos, because I one of the reasons I think Tim asked me to get involved was I was I had a film and video production company before I got involved with the band, and had some experience producing and directing. Mostly just making trouble, but it was my company. So they let me fool around. But the when we made videos for the band, you kind of you'd not you wouldn't stop until it was done. You start and you just keep going. So the crew had to be entertained. Joey Kramer had the drummer had to be. He was the one guy who never got to go into the Star Wagon to sleep to rest, because every band member's solo shot required the drummer for continuity.
Oh no.
So he would be completely like delirious, and I always I was I believed you document everything.
Yeah.
Always have whatever you're shooting, have somebody shooting who's shooting, have somebody always doing behind the scenes, stills and film. So we would, to keep people entertained, I would invite people to contribute to writing parodies of the songs. Some of the songs, sometimes the song we were making a video for. So we would have songs like "Janie's Got the Runs." I mean, really lame, childish, and like stupid, funny. And when you're so overtired,
Right.
it's really funny. Right?
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
There's a scene. There's a long form video called "Things That Go Pump in the Night." It's just a compilation, really, of music videos and some behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
There's a scene with you just see a hand sticking in the frame, touching Joey Kramer's hand while he's laughing, doubled over, begging to please stop, please stop. The hand is me, and I'm singing "Janie's Got the Runs" to him, which we have just written with tour manager, the production manager, the assistant director, video assistant director. I mean, and we wrote the whole thing. I mean, all the lyrics we had. So it was, Janie's got.
If you put that on TikTok right now,
We could.
your hand would get 8 million follows, and your hand could headline at the Wilbur Theater.
There we go. Right.
Come see the Janie Got the Runs hand.
Janie's Got the Runs.
And you would pay $38 a ticket and wait in line to see it. Just
That's
a
right.
hand.
Just a hand. And a line. Janie's got the runs, and her pants won't come undone, and her hiney ain't having fun. And it goes on from there.
I'm telling you, this is your chance.
Oh, yeah. You'll tell her. It's my skill.
Manager / hand model, hand performer. There's a lot there, man.
An idiot. I think that's important. The childish idiocy. I mean, there's so I could actually just keep going, but it's your podcast, so ask away.
Yeah, no, we're having fun. Carolyn, you want to jump in here? You got a question for us?
Were you on board when they did Walk This Way?
I was not.
So you were at the Aerosmith after, because I remember the Aerosmith from the 70s because my brother's 8 years older and he played in a band. And so I know that era of Aerosmith. And then there was sort of like the 80s, early 90s. And then there was the other resurge when they came out with all the stuff from the movies and that's when they did all those videos. And
Mhm.
so you were involved with the videos like Crazy and all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So that era of Aerosmith.
Yeah, I was there in what a lot of people say to me is like, "Oh, you weren't there in the '70s when they were really good, when they were real."
They
And I'm
just reinvented themselves. They've always been good.
Yeah,
so
I mean, they launched with Run DMC the whole idea of rap. The day that Aerosmith and Run DMC made
When
that
they
video,
collaborated, it was nobody
everything
had seen
changed.
anything like
it
that before.
was it was a really important moment in
Absolutely.
music. It changed. It was an important moment in pop culture in the 20th century.
Absolutely.
In the
I
20th
would
century,
say that's got to be maybe the biggest thing in pop culture.
yeah.
Maybe the
And,
biggest.
and really interestingly, I mean, the real story is that none of the guys in Run DMC, there at the time, those three guys, and the guys in Aerosmith, Stephen and Joe, none of the musicians thought it was a good idea.
Oh,
It was a great idea because
But
growing up in New Hampshire in a very white, you know, resort town, that was like the first time I ever saw like rap and rock together.
well, and
Carolyn, when you said New Hampshire, we knew it was white. You didn't have to
so
explain that to us.
what happened was the guy who introduced the idea was Rick Rubin,
Yep.
and what was beautiful about it is all of the musicians in both groups said, well, I mean, there was also an understanding that if anybody, thought it shouldn't see the light of day, it wouldn't see the light of day. Um, so they were opposed to it before they did it. They were skeptical. The rappers thought it would destroy their career,
Right.
with these guys. And the Run DMC guys didn't know who Aerosmith. They didn't know the band. They knew the boom, shot to boom, boom, bop, right?
Right.
And that was because they were looking for those beats, right? So and I actually am very, very close to DMC, Daryl McDaniels. He and I are actually partners in a new business together. Um, I came in a minute after that video had aired, um, and I mean, figuratively speaking, and it was, yeah. I mean, it put Run DMC on MTV.
Absolutely.
It brought
It was a
Aerosmith.
pivotal moment.
It was great, and there again, it was one of the beautiful things about the scene where Tyler breaks through the wall, and
Yeah.
what that means symbolically, right? Is it wasn't contrived. That was a real that was real, and the joining together, very real. Um, and I think that's part of what made it so great. Plus, the director John Small, who was responsible for for bringing it to life, and I think he did a spectacular job. He let them do something that turned out to be what it was. Um, and then the very next video for the band was on their new album, um, called Permanent Vacation, and
Yep.
the song was "Dude Looks Like a Lady,"
Yeah.
and there was a new director. That very same A&R executive I told you who said you never know, what's a hit. John somehow with a you never know, his name for a long time was on more vinyl albums in the credits than any other human being, except for maybe Bob Ludwig, who was the mastering engineer who did everybody's record. But
Right.
Laudner was as big as it got. Artists who he didn't sign, who he didn't work with on different labels, would go to him for guidance and advice. And John said, we need to have this director, and a guy named Marty Kollner, who cut his teeth directing live sports in Boston on Boston television, and he was amazing, just amazing, and incredibly fun to work with. So and it was the craziness of the Aerosmith insanity mixed with Marty Kollner, and it was a, again. I mean, for me, it was like I would like holy shit all the time. Holy shit.
I mean, you're collaborating with people at the top of their field, collaborating with other people who are at the top of their field, and they're all combining. I mean, you're in rarefied air, you know?
Exactly, rarefied air. And in the early days of Geffen Records, when the staff was small and new and everybody was great and enthusiastic, and I mean, there was the president of the label. Eddie Rosenblatt was one of those leaders who understood you hire really good people, set high standards, and then support them and let them do their job. And it was a great label, great experience. Really, I mean, and I felt every day. I just felt lucky, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You've been in some interesting rooms, my friend.
And for me to
With
be
some
able
interesting people.
to make films, to be able to write books, with the guys to create. When I first saw them recording, I thought, "Holy shit! I had no idea. I had no idea." I mean, it's like it's a battle out of which these hits come, and to watch one guy in the band go, say to another, do 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 do, like just, and then watch it bounce around in Steven's head. First the notes, then the notes kind of become linked together like a melody. Then the melody starts to have words attached to it, like it's got some kind of a magnetic thing. And I mean, I was a fucking government major at an Ivy League school. How did this happen to me?
It was meant to happen. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was great. Really, really quite spectacular.
Well, listen, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. Tell us if there's something you want people to go see or read about you or that you're working on.
Well, I think there are a couple of things, and not so much for me. Tyler used to end meetings, and he would say to people, he would say, "Now remember, send your love out ahead of you, so it meets you when you get there." So if there's a message, conveying that, and lots of blessings to those guys still out there on the road. They're playing in Vegas and coming back to
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is it 50 years now? Is that the
Yeah, plus, yeah, so
wow. No one
and
ever thought rock stars would even live to be 50. Forget about perform for 50 years.
oh, it's yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, what the odds of that are? You can't even calculate them.
it's amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, it's really amazing.
It really is.
Sure. I mean, I have lots of things I could plug. Go listen to WikiListen. Go to wikilisten.com.
I'm gonna check it out.
Go to highscorewinsmoney.com and play all of those great things. But far more important than anything, it's again, at the risk of it sounding a little cliche-ish and mushy, in this crazy world, today, it's like be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. We need a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me. I feel honored.
Thank you for being generous with your time and coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's really nice of you.
Take good care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Wow, that was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's interesting. He's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, he was working on a script that he wanted me to look at, and it wasn't like my style or whatever, but he was awesome. He was very positive. He's very, he's doing a lot of stuff. Like
I'm a fan of Daryl
wonder-
Hammond, so I'm gonna check that out when that comes out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know
Yeah.
he had issues as a kid and he overcame that, and I would love him as a comedian.
Yeah, I was thinking that too when he was talking about how it's a lot of the same stuff. You've been injured in some way, and the cathartic thing of being able to take that thing and we make fun of it, or we
Right.
put a light on it instead of hiding it.
To
And once
heal
you
in
put
a
that light
different
on it, people connect with you because they go, "Wow, this is a real moment." And then also, it builds tension because people are like, "Wow, this is a serious thing," and then you get it off. You kind of release it a little bit, which is
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of his, so I wrote that down. Cracked Up with Daryl Hammond.
Well, Carolyn, thank you for once again co-piloting this whatever this is, and have you got they can find you on your website and find your dates, perhaps.
Yeah, I'll plug a few. I'm in Hampton on Thursday at the Old Salt, which is a
Sweet.
restaurant.
Yeah, that's a fun gig.
Yep. And
My
then this
Rotary meetings
weekend,
used to be there.
what?
My Rotary meetings used to be there.
The old salt. Did you get the clam chowder? It's famous.
Yeah, it's good.
And then this weekend I'm at the new club in Rhode Island.
Oh, that's gonna be. Oh, yeah, you're headlining there with Steve
The
York.
Comedy Park. I'm headlining Friday and Steve's headlining Saturday. We split it up.
Okay, so if you're in Rhode Island, you got to go to that show. Great, funny people, and that's a really exciting new club
It's
in
the second
Providence.
week, so
It's
no
kind of
one's
built from
screwed it up yet.
grassroots up from the comedians in their community, and now they have their own place, which is really, really cool.
It's the new comedy club smell still.
Okay. And I want to ask if anyone is watching and you can, this is on YouTube and you can hit the bell or subscribe or whatever, tell somebody. We would really appreciate it because we appreciate you watching, and we're just gonna keep chugging with this thing.
See
I
where
think
it
we're onto
goes.
something here,
What?
and it doesn't cost any gas to shoot this.
Right.
We're not paying $5-6 a gallon to drive to a gig with 4 people in the audience. We can entertain 4 people from our living room,
Correct.
which is much better. All right. So everyone out there, thank you so much for listening. I'm Jim McHugh, Carolyn Plummer, and Kieth Guard. Thank you so much for being our guests. You were really interesting, and we really appreciate it. Okay.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.